In a democracy, citizens need to be informed. Informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker.
Growing up in the city of Long Beach as an African-American male can be quite an experience, even on the west side or North Long Beach. The confrontations with police, gang violence, and drugs are much of a part of growing up in any metropolitan city. On our program today is Duke Givens, who's a product of Long Beach, and he grew up in Long Beach in the central area near King Park. He survived it, but a lot of his friends did not survive it. Duke, welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me.
We want to talk about growing up in Long Beach, and you have survived it. Not only have you survived it, you have been successful. You're a photographer. You published a lot of calendars about gang violence. You worked. You're a father. You're a husband. Tell us about growing up in Long Beach, and what do you want to do in this town, some things that you are already doing that we want to talk about today?
I'll backtrack you to 1985. I played Pop Warner football at Long Beach Poly, which is one of the greatest high schools and institutions basically in the world. I was 14 years old, and life was very, very simplistic at that particular time, but also during that time, drugs hit the scene in Long Beach very, very tough.
What type of drugs?
Cocaine. That drug brought in a spirit and a situation that had our parents go in a direction they should not have went. A lot of people found themselves in prison and ultimately died. So what that wind up doing is allowing or putting the young men that I grew up with in a position to have to make choices. And at that time, gangs were really starting to become very prevalent on the scene, and a lot of these young men joined those gangs.
I looked at a football picture with you in it and some of your compadres, some of your teammates on that football. And it startled me to tears because I knew some of those guys, the number of those who died with gang violence, as a kind of gang violence, as well as drugs. Tell us about that experience growing up and some of your closest friends dying because of gang violence.
Yeah, so and I can go back to that time again. Imagine playing football on the street with these guys in your community. And then just 3 or 4 years later, they made conscious choice to be a part of these actually 2 rival gangs in our city. There are a lot of different gangs, but these 2 particular rival gangs found a lot of my friends joining them, and guys that you slept on the floor with, guys that you played with, turned on each other and killed themselves.
How did you escape that? Now, I know how you escaped it. I'd like you to tell people how you escaped it. And it was basically because you had to be accountable to your father.
Yeah, that is something that is very, very important. Me and my dad have a very strong relationship, but I got a chance to see his love and his care, his concern, and that father-son relationship was forged into a friendship where I understood the direction that he was laying out for me to go. And I adhered to it as well, because you had a few other of my friends who had dads, but they made conscious choice to make other decisions. So I listened to the information given.
So what are you trying to do now? You've gone a stint in the military, you've come out, you're a businessman, you worked for a living. What are you doing now to mitigate some of the problems that African-American boys whose fathers are absent from the home, trying to turn that around?
Personally, I, along with a few other of my good friends and business colleagues, we do mentorship. We go into the high schools, the junior highs, and even the elementary schools, and we make ourselves present in their lives. We do teaching in different capacities. So for example, with me, I touch on a lot of social things, and I also deal with fashion. So I have been doing, over this past year, the concept of the basic tie. Dress the way you want to be addressed in life. And it was interesting because one particular school really pulled at my heartstring, and that was Poly, for one, of course. I'm always get back to Long Beach Poly, but Jackie Robinson. And these young men, they were doing their best throughout their time to try to learn to tie a tie, but they realized as simple as it looks, it's kind of difficult. So I was using that as an analogy with life. It may look simple, but life is not. So you have to be able to learn to navigate and have people help you.
How does one prepare themselves when they find that their father's not in their lives? Your father was in your life, you know the difference. How can that void be dealt with when a boy does not have to be accountable? Now, his mother is there, but
Right.
that's different. How, as you as a successful businessman and entrepreneur, can affect the lives of a boy who is not with his father now?
Well, what I share with a lot of these young men, like you, for example, you're a mentor to me. And when I speak to these young men, there's a lot of mentors I have in the city. Chucky Miller, Robin Perry's an attorney, Doug Howard, he's an attorney. The list goes on and on. Wayne Chaney's a fireman. So I use all these men in my village, and this is what I teach these young men to do as well. Grab men that you know that you can look up to that's going to give you the truth. These young men know what's going on, and they understand the difference between right and wrong. So I just give them a layout plan of where do you see yourself in 2, 5, 10 years down the line, and link yourself with these type of individuals that can help you.
Emerald in the Rough is a concept that you have, is a project that's going on. Why don't you explain that to us and how that ties into what you're doing?
Emerald in the Rough is a documentary about the importance of fatherhood. And it's actually wrapping up my dad's journey in life to my son's life. And it's going to let men know that if we all, of all races, are teaching the same thing generationally to the son, then you don't have things like racisms and all the other schisms and isms that come along with it. Mm-hmm. It's a feature-length documentary that's letting it be known that we need to get fathers back into these young men's lives.
Now, being a father is one thing, and you could be a single dad. But also there's an issue of matrimony, being married to a woman, being committed to a woman, and first and foremost, in some people's opinion, being a husband first, then being a parent and a father. How would you prescribe to that?
Yes, I'm married. I've been married 10 years now, and through the good, the bad, the ugly, and the pretty of it all, I let my boys know that it's togetherness. I show them what it's like. I show them that what's the true definition of a provider. I'm the one responsible for paying that mortgage. I teach them about responsibility, about chores, cleaning a home, all those different things, and then we all link together as a family. Prayer, just all these things, it's just a real powerful thing when the children get a chance to see the parents working together as a unit.
Then why is it so hard when we see all the categories, social, health, political, economic categories that African Americans find themselves in? We find ourselves in the bottom of almost all those vital societal categories. How can we turn that around? In business, in politics, and in social phenomena?
I don't have a puzzled look. That's just, that's the $1 million question. But what I think first and foremost is that city, county, state, and it just morphs on and on, people really gelling together. So when you say an African American community, I believe in a community as a whole, but from an African American perspective, I really feel that we should sit down in capacities where we dialogue even more. Like, for example, me and you having this show, but it just doesn't stop there. Me and you need to sit and you give me expertise of things that you went through in the 60s, 70s, and 80s so that I can propel my 2010, 2020, 2030, and we could pass it on to our children. So in finance and real estate, like you explained to me years ago about the importance of purchasing a home. I bought a home. A lot of people are afraid of that. Mm-hmm. Life insurance. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have life insurance. Why is that? Mm-hmm. So in speaking in that capacity, we need to make sure that we have our foundation, and it's listening, so it's choice. It all boils to choice. So I think that will help if people understand listening to our mentors in our village.
Why was it, zooming in on another subject here,
Mm-hmm.
tell us about your time at Long Beach Poly. Why is Long Beach Poly so nationally known and so special to a lot of people? You lived it.
Yeah, I can make a beautiful story out of that. It's a very special place. Batman had Gotham City. So if you do our coordinates, next to the VIP, you'll run across a high school that has had some very special human beings come through. The movie Black Panther, yes. It was Wakanda, Polly is our Wakanda. That place that we bleed green and gold. People think we're a cult to some degree, but it's a brother and sisterhood that truly will forever go on, and it's nostalgic in so many levels. It's a very creative place. It's a very strong place. It's a very intelligent place. Long Beach Poly is just an outstanding institution, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. I'm glad to have graduated from there.
Right, you've brought some pictures. Why don't you grab the picture and turn it toward the camera?
Actually, when you say pictures, it's actually my very first project that I created. This was the very first calendar that is the Stop the Violence calendar. And I'll open the pages and go through, and we talked about 1985, and here is that picture that I shared with you about the young men that I grew up with. A lot of them made life choice, but we actually won the championship that year as well. So it was... that
was Pop Warner, right?
Yeah, Pop Warner, 14 pressing. At that time it was 9th grade, so we were transitioning into 10th grade. But so many great stories from this time. And when you go through this calendar, I interviewed men and women and asked them, what can you do to not allow young people to make the life choices that you made? And a lot of them were speaking it, but they were still living it. And as a result of that, some of them lost their lives or went to prison for a very long time.
You did a gallery during years ago. I don't mind saying this.
Mm-hmm.
I walked to your gallery and I started crying. I mean, I was director at King Park, and I knew these guys. I'm just choked up right now. It's like these young guys, and they lost their lives senselessly. These guys were all on my football teams and my basketball teams. They're just young, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And then they grew so hard. And you're trying to not allow as many as you possibly can going down that road today. So
being a photographer for 25 years, I've gotten a chance to have a plethora of imagery. And I, over the past few years, put together a gallery called Power of Choice. And it's shooting a concept that doesn't have any text in it at all. You don't need the bios of the individuals or anything, but when you go through this gallery, you'll get a chance to see someone who made a right choice and someone who made a wrong choice, meaning went down a path that sent them to prison or died.
Yes.
And what's interesting to me in this particular gallery is one or the other. No one's better than another. It's just the choices that they have made. And for example, I had some people that chose the gang life that had family, but they chose that life. And then I had some who you have a doctor, a judge, a lawyer, an administrator, a teacher, just all these different people in civic governance and leadership who made these choices to serve the city. But then you've had the others in this gallery who chose not to. So this is something that I have been dreaming about doing for a long time, and now that I have it, it really is an emotional, creative experience.
Let's zoom maybe 5 years from now, and on this program you'll be talking to power. I know the police chief watches this program, the mayor watches this program.
Yes.
What would you say to the people in power about what would you like to see in the city of Long Beach in the next 5 years?
I actually have established a lot of relationships, so I communicate with them now. But 5 years from now, I would like to see the infrastructure come back where we have police athletic leagues, we have community-based things like when we came up. So for example, they would take us to Long Beach State when we were in junior high school. So the thought process of the individuals at that time knew that they wanted to go to college. Just taking us there, we just knew that this is the direction that we were going to go.
Inspiration.
I would bring that back. So 5 years from now, when I look back and see somebody watch this film and said, you know what, Duke was right on point with us getting back to our young people and propelling them to military, trade, college, and we really follow up and make sure that that happens.
Duke Givens, it was a pleasure having a conversation with you on Conversations with Erroll Parker. Keep up the good work, and if there's anything I can do, of course, I'll always do it.
Thank you, sir.
That's Duke Givens, and he is a mentor to many, and he's a savior to some, and he's a businessman, he's a photographer, and he's a great guy. Thank you for being on the program, Duke. We'll be right back with Chucky Miller, who is another guy that I mentored, and he'll be talking about some of the same type of things on Conversations with Erroll Parker. We'll be right back.
In a democracy, citizens need to be informed. Informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker.
From King Park to Rogers Middle School to Poly High School and to UCLA, Chucky Miller has been exemplary in his success coming out of the central area of Long Beach and doing some very, very good things with young people. As we heard Duke Givens talk about what he does. The same could be true of Chucky Miller, who went to UCLA on a football scholarship, graduated from UCLA, and now he's a property owner in real estate. He's got a clothing line, and he's got a fitness gym right in the Signal Hill area of Long Beach. Welcome to our program, Chucky.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Glad to be here, man.
I've always admired you. It's coming up here in the city of Long Beach. You avoided a lot of things that a lot of young men your age avoided in terms of gang violence and drugs and all that kind of stuff. How did you, your uncle had a lot to do with that though. How did you avoid a lot of that, Chuck?
I'm gonna tell you, Earl, it was easy for me, to be honest. It's about being a leader. It's about having a mother that wouldn't accept it. It's about the surroundings that I put myself in, and it's about also the respect that my peers had for me, and that the older boys in the neighborhood, they looked out for me, you know, so it was easy for me. I mean, it wasn't a struggle, you know, and then, you know, my desire, you know, I'm really competitive in life. I believe that in order to be the best, you got to wake up every morning wanting to be the best. And Long Beach was very competitive growing up in sports. We all competed against each other, so I wanted to be better than everybody. And being better than everybody didn't involve doing the wrong things, you know, so it was easy for me.
But getting through UCLA, I mean, yeah, you had a football scholarship, you were an outstanding player at Long Beach Poly High School, and you went to UCLA to participate in the Rose Bowl. But getting and graduating from UCLA is not an easy thing. How did that happen?
You know, like I said, Long Beach, I think it breeds competition. And the competition between friends growing up in Long Beach, man, you didn't want to, you couldn't get bad grades. If we found out you got bad grades, we killed you. We talked bad about you, so you couldn't get bad grades. And I think it was a carryover from that. I mean, UCLA, you know, going there, yeah, it was a different landscape. You know, I had, you know, different types of people running my life who I'd never been used to it, but either I was going to get on board or I was going to get out. And I chose to get on board, so it had to work. You know, I had a dream, and I wanted my dream to come true. I wanted people to be proud of me, so.
One of the things that you're into right now, beside the entertainment type of things you're in the real estate, you're big on child obesity. You have a foundation dealing with that. Why is that so important to you?
Well, the one thing that we're responsible for as adults, we're responsible for our kids. We're responsible for our kids, how they live, what they wear, and then what they eat. Childhood obesity is running rampant in America. And I think that people look at it as something that they can't control, when that's in fact not true. The parents control what their kids eat. The parents control what their kids do. And since it's kind of like a natural progression for me, something that I should do because I am in the fitness business.
Yes.
I'm an ex-athlete. So that's the cause that I chose to fight. I believe that with the proper education, with the parents, you know, I mean, I don't just go out and get the kids and tell them. What I do is I go out and get the parents and tell them, and they need it more than the kids. So, yeah, my nonprofit is called Say Yes to Life. It's been around for like the last 10 years. We do a project. We did a project last year, and I constantly try to do it. something called Feed the City, to where I give out 100 turkeys plus each year. I do family fit fairs, where we do education on what it is, how to eat, when to exercise, how much to exercise, where to exercise. So we try to educate people as much as possible.
Tell me, we'll get into your clothing line in a second, but tell me about your fitness gym out there on Wardlow Avenue. I see, when I pass by it all the time, you see the door open, I see you working out, I see you on Facebook. Tell us, how did you get in that, and what are you trying to do with that?
Well, I got into the fitness position because I had been training athletes after I stopped playing for the Colts. I used to own a nightclub in St. Louis, and when I came back to California, I needed something to do. And at that time, personal training had just started.
Yes.
And since I was training athletes, it was really, like I said, a natural progression for me to go from training athletes to training regular consumers, what I call it. I've been there for 19 years. It's kind of like, for me, giving back to the community as well, because I get to change people's lives. I get to teach people how important their health is to them. I tell people every day, are you going to put a deposit in your health account? And people don't understand that, but you get up every morning, you should go to the bank. And what I mean by the bank, that's the health bank, and put a deposit in your health account. So it's very important for me, Erroll. You know, like I said, I've been there for 19 years, man. I love helping people out. It's affordable training. All poly graduates always get love from me. So, you know, it's fun. And the funny thing now is that I go from training, I've trained a lot of the people I grew up with, kids now. You know, I put over like 50, 60 guys in the NFL, man, through my training there. I have one of my teammates there, Ashley Helton. She's a poly grad, a UCLA grad as well. So she helps, she whips people in shape. So we're doing good things there, I feel.
Now, but let's be real, Chuck. You got a single mom that has got maybe 2 or 3 kids, and she's worked all day, let's say, and she doesn't feel like cooking. You know, to go home, work all day, and then to cook. And so it's easy to go to a fast food restaurant, buy some burgers and some fries and a Coke, and feed their kids that for dinner. And the price is so low that it's convenient and affordable for somebody to eat things that are not healthy.
That's true. Today's marketing, corporations are setting families up to fail. I mean, constantly.
Diabetes.
Yeah, high blood pressure, diabetes. They're setting the families up to fail by, you know, the dollar menu. Yes. Well, the way you get around that, what I call is what my mom used to do. She used to cook for the week.
There you go.
So, I mean, I could tell you, everybody has excuses, Erroll,
yes.
but excuses don't lead to results. They lead to no answers. So if you really wanted to figure it out, how to help your family eat better, live better, function better, you can. So that's an excuse, but meal prepping is what we call it.
Yeah. Prep
your meals for the week. Start on Sundays, and you're gonna cook for the week.
That's right.
You know, so.
Well, let's switch reels a little bit there. Now you have a clothing line. Tell us more about that. Now you're an entrepreneur and all that. You're a real estate guy. You're in fitness. And now you're also in the clothing line. Now we can talk about the entertainment thing in a little while. But how did you get in that, and what type of clothing line are you talking about?
Like I said, Erroll, everything I do has to make sense. It's kind of like a domino effect. First, I get in the fitness business, right? Then I get into I want to do a nonprofit. So, and then now the next thing that I do is my clothing line. And my clothing line has been around for 2 years now. It's called Fit Life. It's very promising. My local base has showed that they love it. And also what we do is we donate a portion of the proceeds to fight childhood obesity. I just had an event where I donated money to God, what's the hospital? St. Jude's Hospital. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm constantly giving back, man. It's fun to me, but my clothing line, I love it. It stands for itself. Anything I do, I want to promote better health. I want a healthier life, which is Fit Life.
Now let's look at the community. I know we've had private conversations about things that you would like to see, especially in the area that you grew up in the central area of Long Beach. What are some of the kinds of things in the future that you would like to see in that area of town?
Man, I grew up in the 6th district, Erroll, and
that's the 6th councilman district.
Exactly, mm-hmm. And I see everything around the 6th district changing except it. You know, I'd like to see some monthly town hall meetings, all right, to talk about how we can make progress into seeing things differently. I think that, for one thing, if you wake up every morning and something looks the same, and that's something that looks the same you don't like, you're not going to respect it. You're not going to want to change. You're not going to want to be there. You're not going to want it clean. You're not going to want to clean it. So I think we need to beautify that part of our city. I think that, the business owners need to take responsibilities. I think the homeowners need to take responsibilities, and I think the renters do. There's so much. I don't think we even have enough time, but don't be surprised if you see me running for the 6th District when it comes up.
So it's all about leadership. It's all about having a vision and providing the leadership that people need. Now, how did you think that sports coincided with you being a leader?
Well, in sports, sports breeds a lot of strong personalities. Sports is about winning. It's not about losing. I don't care what nobody say. They can pat you on the back and say good job all the time, but when you get older, that good job turns into you just lost. That's just how it is. So I think that each individual player. Now you have some players that will stand out in front of everybody, but I think each individual players that ultimately make it to the highest level of whatever sport that they are competing in are leaders. You can't be successful in athletics and not be a leader. The honest truth is that you get up every morning wanting to win. You get up every morning knowing that you're competing for a job every day. And then when I play for the Colts, every day in practice, I felt like I had to make the team. And that's just how it is. So you have to be a leader. You have to be accountable for your actions. You have to take that step every day.
Now, when you went to UCLA, you played in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, 2 of them.
That's right, two Rose Bowls. You played under Terry Donahue. What type of relationship did you have with him?
Man, you talking about a leader of men right there? I learned a lot from that dude. I didn't see it when I was there, but he made a big impression on me. He took a young kid from the East Side who thought he knew everything and made him into a man. He showed me how to win. He told me how, if I lost, to get back up. You get knocked down 8 times, get back up 9 times. He told me, one of his famous saying is this, Erroll: when it's going good, it's not going all that good. When it's going bad, it's not going all that bad. And that's kind of how I live my life. And what that means is this, for me at least: when it's going bad, run fast. When it's going good, run fast. You always have to be running fast, especially as an entrepreneur. You always have to be running fast. And that's the impact that he had on me. Really, really good guy, family man, brought his family around us. He taught us, like I said, about the love of family. The importance of brotherhood, the importance of being a team.
And a teammate.
And a teammate, yes.
Now, in closing here, in talking in the last part of the discussion, there's some ups in Chucky Miller's life, and there's been some downs. Can you share with the guys that you listen to some of the one downtime you had that you had to pick yourself up, start all over again, and get back up on the top?
Man, right when I came back from St. Louis, it was a downtime. Had a little problem with the IRS a little bit, and you just could never stop believing in yourself. Once you stop believing in yourself, I think the party's over with. And that was probably the lowest point in my life, but I believe, like Coach Donahue said, never give in, never give out, never give up. That's how I live.
Chucky, it's been nice having a conversation with you with Conversations with Erroll Parker. As you know, I've told you many times, I'm so very proud of you. I'm glad to have been a part of your life and maybe it influenced you in some type of way. And we appreciate you coming on our show and explaining your ups and your downs and the things you hope for the future in the city of Long Beach. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was Chucky Miller, outstanding young man here in the city of Long Beach, as was Duke Givens in our program today. Look forward to these guys doing some great things, and they are doing some things, giving back to the city of Long Beach and the neighborhood that they were involved with. We'll see you next week on Conversations with Erroll Parker with some more important guests. Good night.
In a democracy, citizens need to be informed. Informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker.